Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of What the Why with Barbara Ann on RVN Television. If you haven't seen us before, our show features conversations with diverse leaders from all walks of life about why they do what they do and how they figure things out. Maybe you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, or you feel stuck and you want to get unstuck, whether that's in your business, your job, or even in your life. All of our guests have something in common with you. At some point in their lives, they felt similarly, and today is no exception. Please join me in welcoming Thomas Rosenberg, with a bunch of initials behind him, MS, MBA, CIC, but most importantly, the founder and principal executive coach at Regenerate Coaching. Thomas loves guiding individual executives and executive peer team clients to grow and flourish by rediscovering what's truly important to them. The shift towards rediscovering what is truly important to him occurred after suffering a traumatic brain injury in a near-fatal bicycle accident in June of 2014. He realized that everybody deserves to live their life authentically and fully share their unique gifts. Too often, people feel trapped by the expectations of others, and life's too short not to live it fully. After their work together, Thomas's clients embody the leadership they seek to cultivate. By recognizing and resolving how they get in their own way, his clients experience deeper self-trust. They also build trust more easily with others and amongst others, and they develop congruence between their actions and their words. The hallmark of his work is measurable and lasting improvements in his clients' experience in developing executive leadership, creating a people-first culture, and cultivating trust. These results reduce staff turnover, which is really important these days, and healthcare costs also, while enhancing business resilience and continuity. The CIC, or Certified Integrative Coach, Thomas' approach blends both the integrative coaching as well as somatic work drawn from his own journey as a coach and human. And to deepen the embodiment of his work, he's currently pursuing somatic coaching certification through the Strozzi Institute. When he isn't supporting individual and team clients to transform their leadership, he enjoys tending to his garden and dancing the Argentine tango with his wife. I'm really excited that he's able to join us via Zoom. So without further ado, please welcome me in joining Thomas Rosenberg to our show. So yay, get the Zoom round of applause. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Barbara Ann. It's a pleasure to be here.
So as all of our guests have been informed in advance, the first question after we read everybody's bio is to ask, we already know that you went through something very significant in 2014. So chances are what you're doing now isn't exactly what you thought you would be growing up. So what is it that you wanted to do when you were little?
When I was little, well, I suppose all kids go through that, like, well, I'm going to be, you try on different hats, right? Different professional hats to see what appeals to you. But at the same time, for me, there was always this message in the family about being of service and helping others. And so coming from a medical and scientific family, I assumed from an early age that it was going to be in some form related to medicine. And it is, I guess what I'm doing now is in some way related to medicine because it's helping people grow, but it's not exactly, it's not internal medicine or something, akin to a more traditional MD medical school route.
Now, you mentioned that really life changed for you drastically in 2014. So what led up to that point in terms of what you were doing, and then how you found your journey to where you are now?
So when I realized it was middle school, high school, early in high school, when I realized that I just didn't have the natural acumen to take on the deep science that a pre-med and medical career requires, And so, but at the same time, I felt this compulsion to be seen in the family to take on a technically challenging career path. And so I ended up in the renewable energy, climate change, sustainability world. And I worked in 20 countries on 5 continents as a subject matter expert. But again, very cerebral, and my leadership was equally as cerebral. And I had found myself spinning my wheels professionally because I wasn't drawing from all of my unique gifts. I was the only part of me was showing up, and it was only the part of me that I felt would gain approval. So I won't say that was hollow, but it wasn't full, and I wasn't able to bring all of that. And so I was struggling professionally, frankly, because I kept running into these dead ends. It's like, this isn't fulfilling. I'm not happy doing this. And I still seem to be doing the same thing I was doing several years ago. And why isn't this changing? And so, as you said earlier, it's like getting stuck, feeling stuck. And that's really where I was. And then I had this wake-up call, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I mean, talk about a pivotal moment. A near fatal bicycle injury or brain trauma because of the bicycle injury. That could not have been an easy journey back.
No, my mom's an occupational therapist, and so growing up, I would hear stories about how she was helping patients recover from strokes, from motorcycle accidents, from car accidents, from bad falls, from a whole sorts of, and so I knew that I had a certain window that I had to make sure that my brain was working. And I didn't know how much of my brain I would get back, because no one ever knows how your brain's going to respond. So it took me, long story short, it took me 2.5 years to fully trust my brain again.
Okay. Wow, 2.5 years. That is a long time. And and that took a lot of strength and dedication on your part, no doubt. So after you go through this experience, you were able to trust your brain again, but you weren't happy, as you just shared, in your old life. So tell us how you decided to now move forward with this new trust in your brain and purpose.
Well, even in, I would say, the immediate aftermath of the accident, I knew that whatever I did next was going to be focused on people, that I had backed myself into somebody else's box. And I was like, for whatever life energy I have left in this body, I do not want to spend it doing what I've been doing. And there was a litany of reasons why, but it was very clear to me that it had to focus not on the technology, not on quick fixes, but really, like, what is our relationship to ourselves? What is our relationship to each other? And that was incredibly clear immediately following the accident. How that unfolded was about the time that I was gaining that trust in my brain. We ended up holding space for a very dear friend who was passing from pancreatic cancer. And so there were about 8 of us who held space for her for the last 4.5 days in vigil around the clock. And it was one of the most transformative, I mean, in 2 years, just about, a deeply pivotal experience for me. But what Casey did was she found ways to share all of her gifts fully. She lived richly. She died surrounded by a community with incredible grace. And I said, that is what I want. All right. And shortly after that, a friend of mine reached out just to check in to see how I was recovering, mentioned that she had started a coaching certification program. And I said, oh, that's what I should do. And so within a month of Casey's dying, my friend passing, I was starting this coaching certification program in integral coaching.
Wow. So
it's just like the universe just opened up, It just is like, look how easy it can be.
Yeah, you actually found the gifts in the experience. Yeah. So tell us more about integral coaching, because that's something I'm not really familiar about.
Sure. So integral coaching it's a developmental approach. We're taking the whole human and their entire social context into consideration when we're working with them. Okay. And it was during that time that I learned about the Strozzi methodology, and so I was like, oh, but I also realized in hindsight, 6 years hence, that I needed to find a way to prove to myself that I could coach from my head, with my head. And now what I'm doing is I'm like, okay, got that. Now I can coach from my body. Mm-hmm. And so that's really been my evolution as a coach. But integral coaching, we're working with where people are in their development and helping to identify for ourselves as coaches, like where they are and what might be the ways that they can unwind those patterns so that they can move deeper in their journey as a human. And so it's a lot of questions, reflective questions, working with environment, working with inner and outer observations. So like what's going on inside you? How are other people perceiving you? What are your relationships like? And what are your practices?
Mm-hmm. And that's something that has turned into a practice that also now incorporates somatic coaching.
I also took the somatic coaching certification program from Strozzi Institute, finished that about 18 months ago, and that's really just reconnecting people with their bodies. All right. Where we have all of this aliveness in the body.
Yeah, and I definitely want to talk more about all of this, but believe it or not, we're ready for our midway break. So, so for our audience, please come back after this brief pause for some commercials from our sponsors, and after the break, we'll have more with Thomas Rosenberg on What the Why. Welcome back to What the Why with Barbara Ann and today's very special guest, Thomas Rosenberg. And before we went to the break, we're talking about the different types of coaching that you offer. So tell us about Regenerate Coaching. I mean, it's an interesting name to pick for a company. Obviously some self-reflection in that.
Yes. So Regenerate there's a couple of different references. So one obviously is just reconnecting to yourself and really, what would it be like to come back to your authentic self and to regenerate that so that you can bring that forward, your unique gifts into the world. And then there's also the regenerative communities aspect, more of a social permaculture approach, and just sort of saying, what is it like, if we are to reconnect to ourselves so we can more easily connect to each other and reconnect to the planet through that, what does that create as possibility? So for those who are interested in it, I have an explicit regenerative communities or permaculture theme that does infuse my coaching. But for those who that doesn't resonate, that's perfectly fine, but that's where it comes from, is really just what is it to reconnect to ourselves, to reconnect to everything that's going on around us, whether that's climate crisis or war and peace.
Yeah, and it's interesting because on its surface, some people might say, well, that sounds like life coaching, but all coaching is life coaching. You do a lot of work with executives and companies. So how do you work? I mean, this is a lot of work for somebody who's in a leadership position to do on themselves and their team. So to the extent you can share, tell us about your approach when you're working, especially in a corporate environment.
So again, my entire practice now is somatic. And so in both, whether I'm working with an individual or with a team, I'm still looking for the development that wants to occur. And when I'm working with so when I start with a new client, again, individual or team, one of the first things we do in the first session is, after going through the intake questions, is really understanding what's the North Star for them. What do they want to get out of this? And that is summarized, for lack of a better word, in a declaration statement or in a commitment statement. So that commitment statement, for those who are familiar with Fernando Flores and speech acts, is really a way to tune your nervous system on a daily basis. And we say it as, I am a commitment. Now, in terms of English grammar, it's a little odd because you wouldn't say that, but it's really pointing to you being the embodiment of this commitment going forward. So at the end of our work together, you will have made progress towards this. And it also gives you a North Star to continue your own work. So it might be, I am a commitment to connecting to my true self so that I might ... Right? And it might be very personal. It might be focused on living life meaningful, in a meaningful, grounded way. But, when you're working as an executive, or even with an executive team, how does that show up in how people interact with each other? How does that change how you show up in the workplace? Yes, it's going to also affect how you show up in your friendships, in your significant relationships, with kids, with life partners, right? But all of that it's going to blend or across all of your areas, all of the roles that you have in life.
Okay, so for example, if I was working with you and I really wanted to further enhance my servant leadership, my North Star commitment would be, I am commitment to servant leadership. Or would I go into even more detail than that?
Yeah, so you could say I am a commitment to servant leadership, and then we would also pull in the other elements.
Okay.
So, maybe just as for instance, maybe you've been holding back your servant leadership in a way, like you've been cutting. So maybe it's, I am a commitment to liberating my servant leadership.
Okay.
And then so that I may live fully and freely, right? And notice just saying those things, like something just landed for you. Your body changed, right? Something resonated. Like, what was it like to liberate that? And so we really worked that, and it's like, so this is what my body wants. And this is not to say that it's going to be an overnight success, right? But it's just like, this is what we're moving towards on a day-by-day basis. We are what we practice. Like somatic coaching holds, we are what we practice. So think how you sit, walk, talk, breathe, stand, the language you use with yourself, with others. That shapes your perspective, that shapes your body physically, and how you perceive the world, and then again, how you let others in and how others perceive you. So we can learn through the body by changing that and normalizing a new way of doing something. So there are practices that I invite my clients to work with that are going to say, oh, okay, so I'm used to practicing in the face of it, this type of situation this way. How do I change that? And with that declaration, in every single session, we are going back to that and saying, okay, so what would you like to shine some light on in relation to that today in our session together?
Okay. Now, do any of your clients change it at different points in time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I know that was the
So
answer to my
actually,
question.
I just, one of my clients actually just changed the primary verb. So it's like, I am a commitment to, and that verb changed. Because it wasn't just about finding it or seeing it. It was actually letting it loose. And it's like, oh, like what happens then? Like, because recognizing, oh, like I have been taught to hide this, to suppress it, to contain it.
Yeah.
So what happens, like, and so each time it's like giving yourself permission. Oh, well, if I let it out of the cage, what becomes possible? Who am I if I let it out of the cage?
You know, that is a very, I love that approach. I love everything about that approach because there are so many people who could be watching this show right now who, for whatever reason, they know what they would like to do, but there's some element of fear that's holding them back. And so, you know, maybe this person wants to change the job, and they're looking, they haven't quite, they're holding it back. Like they're not doing everything they could do. So for someone like that, if they wanted to do that, what would you encourage? Like, how would you structure a what is a commitment again?
The commitment statement?
The commitment statement.
So it's so again, you know, it's not about the job change.
Right.
It's about the root cause underneath that. That's like, what's that yearning that the job change might be assuaging? Right? I mean, it might just be a really toxic environment, and that's fine. Right. But it's also undergoing, like, okay, so you want to be in a new place, and what is it that you're really yearning here? You know, I had a client pre-pandemic who was moving into a senior role, and he was going in, he's like, nobody's respecting me, and I don't understand, and you have to get me this promotion. And I'm like, well, hold on a second here, you know, and what I helped him understand was it wasn't that he had to show how smart he was, because he was describing these meetings that just like spun off the topic and didn't get resolution. I said, what if you were the person in the room who would be able to ask the question that brought people back to the reason why the meeting was called in the first place?
Yeah.
And when he started to embody that, the way he was perceived was no longer as a junior partner who had just moved up from the kids' table to the adults' table, but as a senior business partner who could lead his part of the organization, which happened to be the finance organization. Right? And so it just was this shift of, so again, going back to, it's not about the promotion. It's not about, it's like, what is that deep yearning?
Yeah.
And how is that showing up in your body? And what is it that's getting in your way?
And that's so helpful because really, you know, and we see it all the time, right? People don't leave jobs because of the money. They leave jobs because of bad leadership, but they're seeking something else in the way of fulfillment. And it sounds like your approach would really benefit a lot of people who are on that part of their journey. So,
yeah.
Believe it or not, we're at time. So for those who would like to know more about you and your approach in terms of helping people really kind of connect holistically with their whole being, what's the best way for people to find you?
Well, the simplest thing is to go to my website, which is regenerate.coach. Right above the fold, there's a big orange button that says Explore Possibilities. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with anyone. It's free. We can set up a time for 45 minutes to an hour. We can talk about what's drawing you to coaching right now, and I can share more about my approach and to see if it's the right thing for you. And if it's not, I'm more than happy to refer you out to the right person.
All right. Thomas, this has been awesome. I mean, I've gotten to hear you speak and participate in things with you before, and I really appreciate that you took the time to share your expertise and some really great potential opportunities for those of you who are watching and feel stuck to resolve some of that. So thank you again. And as for our upcoming guests, you really don't want to miss them. You don't want to miss people like Tom. So our upcoming guests include business owners, coaches. We're on a coach theme, but I listen. Authors, technology experts. Remember, there's a professional skier in there and some other folks that have overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. You don't want to miss what any of them have to say. And if you've missed any of our past episodes from seasons 1 or 2, please visit the What the Why page of RVNTelevision.com, where you can catch our shows on demand. And you can explore the rest of RVN on demand as well as RVN Live. You have so many choices for viewing these days, so many. So thank you very much for watching our show, and please tell a friend or colleague about us. As a reminder, What the Why airs live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1 p.m. and then again on Mondays at 3:30 p.m., all of which are in Eastern Time, and then are available on demand again on rvntelevision.com and coming soon to other platforms. And also, please remember, whether you're looking to make changes in your life, whether big or small, please join us again for more informational, inspiring, and transformational conversations with guests like Tom, who overcame whatever challenges were in their paths to identify, clarify their why, pursue their purpose, and live it.